Cinema Jaw is brought to you by Cards Against Humanity. Guess what?
What, Matt?
They asked us not to read an ad.
Are you kidding me?
I'm serious.
That is so cool.
Dead serious.
Wow.
Enjoy the show. You're listening to Cinema Jaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location at Cards Against Humanity in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is
Rye the Movie Guy. And sitting alongside us, as always, is Elias, local filmmaker. I almost said engineer.
In the jaw box.
Yeah, in the jaw box.
Hi, Jawheads. How's it going?
He's sitting right next to us now. I mean,
Yeah.
this is getting creepy.
I'm with you, and I have washed 2 weeks in a row now that I've been outside of the jaw box, and getting rehabbed.
Well, I'm glad that bar of soap that I beat you with, finally you put it to use.
Yeah, thank you. And
Yeah, you took it out of the sock and
Yeah.
This week on Cinema Jaw, Matt, we look at one of the most prolific writers of our time, Stephen King, as we cover our top 3 favorite Stephen King adaptations.
And I know you wanted to keep this short, but man, I could have talked about just about all of the Stephen King
There's
adaptations.
plenty of time for some nice honorable mentions.
Yes.
So I hope we won't cross over too much. But I have to say, I said top 3 when we were talking in Slack, and partly was because I did not think he had that many adaptations. And still,
Little did you know.
wow, once I started researching, I was stunned how many Stephen King adaptations there really are.
Yes.
In addition to that, Matt, we have a great guest who's going to be joining us shortly.
Oh, yes, we do. John Ravenscroft is here, and he works with the Chicago Park District on movies in the park, among some other projects. Can't wait to talk to him.
Yes, I mean, there is something so nice about going to see a movie on a big screen on a summer night in a park in Chicago. It's one of the best I think the city does, and they're literally everywhere in all these parks in the different neighborhoods of the city. So,
Literally right outside my back door.
really?
Right outside my back door in Rogers Park. I can hear it and see the screen from my own porch.
And you never go, do you?
No, I do. Every year, I do. I mean, dude, it's like steps from my house.
That's awesome.
They actually had one of your favorites, Seabiscuit, a few years ago.
Nice. Yeah, so we'll talk to John, how they come up with the films, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
In addition to that, we got a whole lot more going on, don't we, Elias?
Oh, yes, we're going eye for an eye on The Dark Tower.
And we have the movie club pick of the month, Oakjaw, in addition to a review of Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets.
Yes. And Matt, another new movie coming out is Detroit, and this is directed by Catherine Bigelow. And
Who's she?
Yeah, who's she?
I'm just
right?
kidding, just
I know.
kidding.
And could be some Oscar buzz going with this movie. Talks about race relations in Detroit,
Sure.
Michigan, and what was going on. I think this is maybe takes place in the 70s. I'm not even positive myself, 60s. But when I saw the movie Detroit, I'm trying to always think of a creative trivia topic.
Okay.
So I came up with city movie trivia. Think of movies that have a certain city in the title.
Okay. All right. I hope you didn't make it too Chicago heavy.
No,
Okay, good.
there you go. Also, movie news going on here, Matt.
Yeah.
Daniel Craig has been announced that he is coming back for a 5th James Bond. Thank the Lord.
Oh, are you kidding?
No,
I'm tired of this dude.
you gotta be joking.
No, I'm not joking. It's
He's
over.
making some
It's
of
over.
the best Bond movies
He's
to
a
date
complainer.
right
He's
now.
a whiner.
He's not a whiner.
He
He
is
was
a
just trying to
whiner.
get more money from
And
the
he's getting-
studio,
he's
probably.
getting old.
No, I love the guy.
Cinema War.
Whew, you are going down, Matt Kay.
I don't know.
I think so.
I got some gadgets up my sleeve.
All right. So without further ado, Matt, we do bring in our guest. As you mentioned, his name is John Ravenscroft. He runs Movies in the Park, Chicago. John, welcome to Cinema Jaw.
Thanks, guys. It's good to be here.
So let's jump right in. Let's talk about movies in the park.
Yeah.
How did this get started? Well, how long have you been with the organization?
Right. I've been in the Chicago Park District for 5 years. I've been running movies in the parks the whole time, but the program itself is like 17 years old. So it's much older than I am at the Park District. But it's gotten way bigger than it started.
Is this tied in with the Millennium Park also, or is that something separate?
That's sort of separate. It's a distinction that if you don't work for the Park District or work for the city, you don't know. But the Millennium Park is not actually owned or managed by the Chicago Park District. It is owned by the city and managed sort of privately.
Gotcha. So these are, and there's a lot of people that listen that don't live in Chicago. So the city is quite large and has numerous parks in all these different neighborhoods. I don't even know how many parks.
About 600.
Not bad.
I
That's
mean,
why
he
we
works,
have John.
He works for the park district.
So
he would know.
there's 600 parks in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, we're not quite at 600, but we're almost up there.
That
We
is
have, and
awesome.
about 250 of those have actual buildings with staff on site.
Wow. I would have never guessed that. What have you? I would have probably said 200.
I mean, I would have guessed in the hundreds, but that's a big number. And as long as we're doing stats, so how many of those parks are represented with movies in the park?
It changes every year, but each year we generally do about 250 movies in about 175, 180 parks from June to September.
Massive undertaking.
It's huge.
Sure is.
It's
And
huge. It's
who-
gigantic.
Who is picking these movies?
So most of them, people always assume that I pick all of these movies, which would be crazy. Most of them are picked by the local park staff, because our goal is always to serve the people who use the park, and no one knows those people better than the park staff. So we have a certain amount that we do every year, and each, we sort of divide the city and sort of pass them out equally at the beginning of the season, and then our park supervisors choose what they think will work best for their patrons and for the people who use that park on a daily basis.
I wonder what they were thinking when they chose Seabiscuit for Rogers Park. I mean, seriously. Nobody wants to see Seabiscuit.
It's a feel-good movie.
Yeah.
I don't
really
remember
is.
Seabiscuit. Are you talking about Loyola Park?
Yes.
Yes.
Loyola Park,
That's
Rogers.
my local
it's
park
East,
too.
East Rogers Park, yeah.
It's my local park too.
Oh,
I don't
we're
remember
neighbors.
Seabiscuit being there, but I believe you. But I have no idea what they were thinking.
I would say it was about 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, that's
good
an odd.
movie. What do you mean?
No.
Yeah, it is.
You and your horse movies.
It was nominated for Best Picture. It's a quality film.
All right, fine.
Okay, but I have a question for you, John. Okay, you pick out these movies and you finally get a list. Do you ever get studios that say, no, we don't want your movie to play in the park? Because don't you got to get permission when you're doing something like this from the studios?
We definitely do. So we use licensing vendors. So there are two big companies who sort of hold public performance licenses for almost every studio that's out there, at least the major ones. We never run into, no, we don't want it at a park. We run into, no, you can't have that because we're remaking that. No, you can't rehab that because it's the 25th anniversary and we're going to re-release that. So we run into those issues. We run into issues with studios that have other things coming out and they don't want to compete with themselves at the box office. So it's a constant negotiation in the springtime for me of, here's our lineup, and then I send it to my distributors, and they send back the 5 things I can't have. And so then it's calling around and asking and getting second choices. But yeah, most people, I mean, studios aren't necessarily involved, but I think the distributors are definitely on board with, bringing films outside.
Sure. And one of the neat programs that you guys are doing is this idea of Chicago filmmakers making
Yeah.
and Chicago-based movies
Yeah.
screening at the parks.
Yeah, the Chicago On Screen Local Film Showcase is it's my baby. I created this program 4 years ago. This is our 4th year this summer. And the goal is to bring filmmakers who are working in the city and living in the city, and most importantly, making films about the city out to the neighborhoods and to give them the opportunity for free screenings, which is something that filmmakers don't often get. Like, we have no submission fee, and we pay them a little bit of money for the film. And the goal is to bring those stories out to the people in the city who don't get a chance to see themselves or people that look like themselves on movie screens. And
Yeah.
we do it outside for free.
And are these short films that play before the features that you're showing, or?
They are, so it's its own series. So we do, it's a week long in August and September, and it is totally local films for that week. And they are a mixture of shorts and features, and we sort of mix them up and pair them up and make good, solid lineups out of them.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how many former Cinema Jaw guests are in the lineup.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
So Dinesh Sabu with Unbroken Glass is playing, that's a cool
we're
movie.
excited about that one this year. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
we
cool
had
stuff.
him on. And it's probably a good way to bring the community together of filmmakers.
It is, and it's a great chance to connect filmmakers with our patrons who are not necessarily going to be going out to local film screenings that are happening, downtown at the Siskel and at places like that. It's, we're taking it to people's backyards, and they get a chance to connect with local filmmakers.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And you mentioned that this program, the larger program, Movies in the Park, has been going on for like 17 years. In that time, my question is, have other cities looked to this program as like a pilot? Have they looked to Chicago for like leadership or advice on how to get this going elsewhere?
We have, a couple times a year, we'll get emails and phone calls, sort of cold calls from other cities asking about your program is like, how do you operate on that scale, or how do you make this work, or who do you get your licensing from, or how did you get a screen? And we're always happy to answer those questions. I keep hoping that some sunny, warm city will want to fly me out for a consult, but that hasn't happened yet. But we do. We work with other cities when they reach out to us, because it is the big distributor that I work with, the licensed distributor. We are we are their largest sort of municipal client. We have the most number of screenings of any sort of city with this kind of program.
It's awesome.
That is awesome. We
Yeah.
live in a great place.
We do.
Yeah,
Hey,
we're awfully proud of it.
Are Patreons allowed to bring booze into the parks, or is that against the rules?
It's a tricky question. There are two answers. Technically, drinking in the park is illegal.
Okay.
But if you've ever been to a Movies in the Park screening, you know that most people there, not most, but some people there do have booze with them. It technically illegal, but certainly it is part of the experience for a lot of people, and me and my staff don't necessarily get in the way of that.
So, when I see it, my experience is it's classy. People keep it low key. I see a lot of people
yeah.
with like
A bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like
And
crushing
they're-
12 packs. you
Yeah,
know?
they're now everyone has those big like fold up picnic tables that they just sort of set on the ground, and then they can sit and lay out a full spread. It's insane, but
That's great.
Yeah.
To see the culture pop up around the
Yeah.
program.
yeah.
That's so cool.
Has there ever been one movie that screened in the park that was a little bit more special, like a Ferris Bueller's, that really got the crowd out and that you remember thinking, wow, that was a smash?
Ferris does really well for us every time we show it, and it generally pops up a couple times a season. With so many people picking movies, that one's bound to pop up. One of my favorite, and it wasn't a ton of people, but one of my favorite movies in Parks Memories was probably 3 or 4 years ago. We were showing Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory at Cricket Hill,
nice.
up at Montrose Harbor. Beautiful skyline in the background, boats on the water, beautiful everything. And when Charlie Bucket found the golden ticket, just spontaneous applause throughout the entire crowd and cheering, and it was amazing. It was I mean, that's the kind of experience that you can have in the park that maybe necessarily wouldn't happen in a theater.
And we're talking about the Gene Wilder version.
Yes,
Okay, good.
yes.
Good.
I always forget if that's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but it's that one.
Good. The good
The
one.
Gene Wilder one.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure. Nice. Now, for Chicagoans or people maybe out in the suburbs that want to partake and want to watch a movie in the park this summer, where's the best place to find schedules and all that good stuff online?
We have everything's on our website. The Park District. So Movies in the Parks is one part of our giant program called Night Out in the Parks, which is 1,200 events throughout the city. Movies is 250 of those, and the rest are theater, dance, and other performing arts and nature events and family festivals. That's all on our website, which is chicagoparkdistrict.com. And then we also have a nifty little mobile app now for the last couple of years called the My Chi Parks mobile app, which I use all the time because it helps me get from park to park. But that lists all of our events as well.
Yeah. Biggest park in Chicago?
Biggest park in Chicago. I don't know for sure, but I would have to say that Lincoln Park is in the mix. Lincoln runs from North Avenue up to Hollywood, so it runs the entire lakefront. I would put, parks like Marquette and Douglas and Humboldt and those kinds of parks in there too. Garfield.
I drive by Humboldt Park every day on my way to work.
It's enormous.
It's enormous.
enormous.
It's like,
Yeah.
what is going on? There's a lake in there, a creek on it.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff going
when
on.
it really hit me was when I went there for Riot Fest, and I'm like, holy crap, where does this park end? I mean, there's roads that go through it and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
It's
and
nuts.
the lagoon, like the walk around the lagoon it's amazing. You completely forget that you're in the city.
Totally.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And a rough part of the city too.
It's getting better, though.
It is.
It is. Well, we like to end all of our guest interviews with some silly cinema cues.
Okay.
Get to know the guest through the eye of the lens. Elias, you got something for John?
Yeah, so Rye's probably too bashful to ask himself. Would you ever allow Rye to host a special screening of Seabiscuit at one of these movies in the park?
Well,
No one else will be there but him.
Yeah,
Just
and
else
he'll have a
would be
lot
there
of
but him.
booze with him.
well, I don't think we can make that work, right? I don't.
Yeah.
I'm happy to maybe lend you a screen if you want to do a screening at home. We've got some nice indoor screens I can set up for you.
Yeah. Maybe I can fit one of those out on my deck and I can have you guys over.
movies on the porch.
Movies on the porch.
And there's another one that you probably can't make happen, but it got me thinking when you talked about the applause at the Willy Wonka screening. Would you be able to do a midnight screening of the Rocky Horror Picture Show out in the park?
Ooh, that's a good
It's funny you ask. It is something I am currently trying to make happen for this October.
Wow.
So we stretched Movies in the Parks out through October last year, added screenings of horror classics at Northerly Island downtown with campfires and marshmallows and sort of made a whole evening out of it. So we're bringing that program back. I'm going to be looking into Rocky Horror. I don't know if we could do midnight, but we could probably do like 10.
Sure.
That would be fun.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's something. It's funny you asked. I'm working on it.
So Northerly Island is doing screenings too?
Northerly has a couple. They've got one in a couple weeks, and then they are
awesome.
also part of the Chicago On Screen local film showcase this
I
year.
bet that would be a great place to watch a movie. I mean,
Oh, it's beautiful.
it's gorgeous
It's
over there.
beautiful.
Yeah, awesome. Wow.
And
well,
it's free.
yeah,
Free.
free.
Yes,
This
yes.
is the best part of the whole program, Matt.
Absolutely.
Free. F-R-E-E.
Well done, Rye.
Yeah,
Free.
that's
Yes.
how that's
You,
spelled.
you got it right.
All right. So John is going to be sitting in on this entire Jaw. He has also saw Oakjaw, our movie of the month pick, and he has his top 3 Stephen King adaptations.
Sweet.
It does bring us to a segment called Eye for an Eye, Elias.
Eye for an eye, interested or ignore. The Dark Tower. The gunslinger Roland Deschain roams an Old West-like landscape where the world has moved on, in pursuit of the Man in Black. He is also searching for the fabled Dark Tower in hopes that reaching it will preserve his dying world. The film stars Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey. It's based on the books by Stephen King. It is directed by Nicolja Arcel, who is best known for directing 2012's A Royal Affair. We throw it over to Ryan.
I hate to come down on the bad side of the Dark Tower, especially as we're going top 3 Stephen King adaptations. But okay, these books I believe have been around for a very long time. Throw it,
sure.
Throw it in the jaw box on when the first book came out, because
I'll look
they've
it
been out there for a long time. I know nobody who's read these books other than my brother. He's like the only person I know. Now, when you look at a big film series that was coming out, say like The Lord of the Rings, I knew a ton of people who had read The Lord of the Rings.
Well, those have been
the Harry Potter books.
Sure.
Yeah.
Granted,
yeah.
you know what I mean? But I knew all the, a lot of people would watch. I don't know anybody. And then I finally see the trailer, and I don't know. I think the gas is running out on the Matthew McConaughey train here. He had just gotten up onto the top of the mountain, and it seems like everything he's doing is just not good anymore. I don't know what's going on. I'm ignoring this one.
Wow.
Matthew?
Well, I would say that I know a fair amount of people that have read this series.
you have?
Of course. But I don't know anybody who's read it and isn't completely devoted to it. Like, it's not a casual read. Like, if the people that read it, it's almost like a cult. Like, they're Dark Towerans. And the cool thing about it is how it weaves through the larger Stephen King universe, if you will.
Oh, I knew none of this. So this is good.
I mean, even parts of it have characters that cross through the Dark Tower series. That's like his hell, his Elseworld kind of place where all the monsters come from. I'm probably getting this wrong because I'll be honest, I haven't read the books, but I know enough to know that. I see what you're saying about the visuals, and I'm not completely disagreeing with the Matthew McConaughey stuff, but I still have some faith, and I like a good villain. I'm interested.
John, interest or ignore?
It's funny. I am the same way. This book was very popular with a lot of people I knew in high school. Not the book, the series of books. And like Matt was saying, like if you've read the Dark Tower series, you are devoted to the Dark Tower series. You're devoted to the world. I didn't know as much about the sort of the cross through and the world building that he's doing in the Dark Tower series and connecting other things. I think for me, I'm still probably going to ignore it, just because I am not that devoted fan, and so I'll probably catch it later.
Elias, we're splitting here. Interested or ignore on the Dark Tower?
Believe it or not, I think Matt Kay kind of sold it on me. He wasn't 100%
Nice.
confident with if that's actually what the world is, but that sounds awesome. So, and I also have a soft spot for fantasy, big budget sci-fi stuff. Interested.
Yeah, interesting. I will say, you describing it, Matt, sold me a little bit more. I'm at least a little excited for it now. I was coming in as a hard ignore coming into this. After you talking about it, all right, sounds, maybe it's got a chance.
Like, I think it definitely ties into it, and I think some of the other monsters that are famous, like the Tommy Knockers and the Sleepwalkers, I think.
we're not going to see like Andy Dufresne walking in the background.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Well,
I remember
we'll
the
see.
first time I saw the Gunslinger.
Well, the other thing, I think it's based on like the 8th book.
Yeah, I don't know.
I could be wrong on
didn't
that.
know
I don't
that.
think it starts with the first one.
Oh, wow.
This one. Throw that in the jaw box if you could also.
Sure.
If this first movie, I think it's
And
on.
how many books are there in this series?
Yeah, throw everything in the jaw box.
Throw the whole
That's
show in
Just
there.
a comprehensive report on
Do
the
you guys
Dark
just want to
Tower
leave here and
series.
go to a library?
Good stuff. All right, Matt. Speaking of new movies, Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets. Luc Besson, the creative director of The Fifth Element, Lucy, and The Professional, has brought his latest space epic to theaters. with a budget of $150 million. This is his biggest project to date. I hit the theater to see if it was money well spent.
Welcome to Alpha. The city of 1,000 planets, where for hundreds of years, every species has shared their knowledge and their intelligence with each other. It's paradise.
Amazing. After a fun opening montage that shows man's expanse into space, we meet Valerian and Lorleen on a simulated beach 400 years into the future. They are given a mission to retrieve a small creature known as a converter. Whatever this creature eats, it recreates multiple of. Why they need this and who is it for is a mystery. The actual mission, which sees Valerian in another dimension walking around a vacant field in our world, was very exciting and a fun set piece. Once the creature has been retrieved, the plot opens more. Clive Owen plays Valerian's commander and tips his hat right away that he has something to hide. Eventually, some aliens capture the commander who they think has the creature, but they guessed wrong. Lorleen has it, and she gets captured by some other random aliens, which then has Valerian on a side adventure. Here he meets Bubbles, a doppelganger played by Rihanna, of all people. Not strange enough, she has a pimp played by Ethan Hawke. I think you get the point here, Matt. This movie is out there. I really appreciated some of the creative and fun aspects presented by Besson. This is like The Fifth Element on crack. The world creating was spectacular, the story was solid, little predictable, but the acting here by the two leads, Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne, failed to make this a space adventure to remember. Valerian is a cocky character, but unlike, say, Indiana Jones, he's not likable. I did not feel a connection with either of the leads. The bad part here is that they are supposed to be falling in love slowly as the movie goes on. That aspect was not believable at all. When you spend $150 million on a movie, you may forget how important quality lead actors are. Valerian is a spectacle for sure, but one that fails to ultimately connect with the audience.
Huh. I mean,
Wow.
it looks like Star Wars level special effects.
I mean, the effects, the creatures they created, the aliens, so much thought went into this. You know, sometimes you see aliens where it looks like, oh, he just has a cheap rubber mask on, or you know what I mean? Not the case with Valerian. Everything, the worlds that they created, the aliens they created, the spacecrafts, the robots, all top of the line type stuff. You could tell there were a lot of people working like pre-production on designs and how to come up with all this stuff.
It looked a little like YA, right? Like young adult.
A little bit, but I think that's because of the lead actors. Valerian, I mean, he's young, cocky, and unlikable. Like, who wants to go watch like a punk on screen that you're not cheering for? You know what I mean? Like Star-Lord.
Sure.
Chris Pratt. You know, here was a guy when we saw him in Guardians of the Galaxy that when he gets away, you're almost cheering with him in the theater. Not the case with Valerian. He does something great, and it's just like, I wish somebody would just slap this kid in the face.
Wow.
Wow. It's aggressive.
Yeah.
Wow. Was that one of the scenes you disliked the most? Or?
Yeah, pretty much. And as I mentioned, they're slowly falling in love. So I'm not giving anything away here. I think you can see where the two leads are going to go. And so by the time it gets to sort of near the end where there is this big romantic kiss, it's just roll your eyes worthy. Like, come on. We didn't buy this for a second. And now they're going to have this big kiss and we're supposed to feel something here. No, didn't work.
All right. How about anything positive? Any favorite scenes?
Okay, it opens up with a montage, and this montage was really special. It starts off with basically maybe, I think, 5 to 10 years in the future. So it's basically like the International Space Station has just grown with more people. And basically, the music is David Bowie's Space Oddity. And what they're doing is showing mainly like American astronauts greeting other countries. And each year it's getting like further and further into the future, and we're starting to see the smaller countries, somebody like Mongolia, you know, they're getting up there. And then it's even more into the future, and we finally got contact with aliens, and then these different aliens. And this goes on all the way until you see how big this space station has gotten and that it's a danger to be in Earth's orbit. And so they're going to get it out of the Earth's orbit to go explore whatever it may explore. And it's like, wow, this is fascinating. And by the time we finally meet Valerian, it's 400 years into the future. But that was pretty awesome.
Very cool.
That's cool.
Movie influences, right?
Tough not to say The Fifth Element, obviously also Luc Besson, but also Jupiter Ascending, which I know a lot of people
Oh, boy.
were really down on, from the Wachowskis.
But you liked it. That and Seabiscuit.
But I liked Jupiter Ascending for that reason of a fun space adventure. Is it great? No. But is it out there like this movie is? Yes.
All right. What did you learn from this movie?
I learned, as I said here, likable actors in adventure films are so vital. Gotta be cheering for the leads when it's a big space epic like this. You have to.
Right. How about your movie poster quote?
Movie poster quote was this: "Don't do drugs? ? What it's like? See Valerian."
Wow.
Whoa.
Now I want to see it, dude.
I mean, from a visual, I would like to see
Yeah.
this in 3D. I did not see it in 3D, and there were definitely some moments where I was like, oh man, this would be even trippier in 3D because he really went all out. So
He's a master of that.
and I'm glad. Overall, I'm glad that I saw it, and I'm glad that there's somebody making movies like this that are just huge spectacles that you got to sort of see in the theater and just appreciate the creativity. So I'm going 2.5 Jaws on Valerian. Didn't overly hate it. I wouldn't say this is the summer movie you got to go spend your money on, but 2.5 Jaws. There we go, Matt.
Yeah, sounds good. Speaking of creative,
Yeah. Our movie of the month pick.
I know I'm actually very excited for this.
And that we all saw it.
We all saw it,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and
I think even
hopefully
Phil saw it.
the Jawhead saw it as well. Oakjaw. In Bong Joon-ho's latest, we see the friendship between a little girl and a super pig against the world. Can this bizarre setup make for a whole movie? This week, me, Rye, and the Jawheads took to Netflix to find out.
We needed a miracle. And then we got one. This beautiful and special little creature will be a revolution in the livestock industry. Our super pigs will not only be big and beautiful, they will also leave a minimal footprint on the environment, consume less feed, and produce less excretions. And most importantly, they need to taste fucking good.
Through films like The Host and Snowpiercer, Bong Joon-ho showed himself to be somewhat of an eclectic filmmaker. His tastes are varied and strange, and in Oakjaw, it is certainly no exception. Heartwarming, heartbreaking, hilarious, and harrowing. Oakjaw managed to perform a balancing act that I found to be quite satisfying. The real star here, human at least, is Tilda Swinton. Once again, she has proven that she can play just about any character under the sun. She's not afraid of prosthetics or makeup. She is truly one of the greatest actresses working today. The young actress who plays the main character Mija, Seo Hyun An, also displays this amazing steely determination which is way beyond her years. Paul Dano, Stephen Yeun, and Breaking Bad's Giancarlo Esposito are all amazing, but we have to give credit to the animators here who brought the amazing title character Oakjaw to life with a realism that generates true empathy. I mentioned the balancing act before, and I do think they struck the chord, but it does waver from time to time. And if I had to levy one complaint at this film, it would be its slightly schizo structure. Overall, though, the unpredictability outweighs the jarring genre switches. I liked Oakjaw.
Nice. Let's pick up where you said that you do think that the movie's a little uneven at times. I would
Yes.
almost say like the tone of the films, and this is a very difficult thing to pull off when you have characters as eccentric as he has in this movie, so over the top, and yet he's asking the audience to have an emotional tie to this computer animated
Super Pig.
super pig, and that is extremely difficult to pull off. Yet it somewhat worked at the end. I felt myself a
think it
little tug at the very end of this film.
I think right from the beginning they set
Yeah.
up Oakjaw as a sympathetic character, and with the hug and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
and I believed her as she had weight, she had presence, Like she was in the scene. She wasn't
Yeah.
just like animated on top.
And a lot of credit goes to the young woman who's playing Mija, and just the work she's doing. She is selling that relationship so beautifully, and which is why at the end, like,
Yeah.
I felt that heart pull. Just
Yeah, there's this wonderful shot where Oakjaw more or less whispers into
oh yeah,
Which is a
Bonch's
reoccurring
ears,
thing.
which is she's always whispering into his ear, and then at the end, it sort of comes down and is almost whispering into her ear. And she, like you said, she sold it because I think that interaction with Oakjaw. So then, when that final moment comes where you see this scene, you actually believe that this super pig of all things is doing something, sort of emotional, and it works. But a couple of characters didn't work for me here.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
And number one, what the hell was Jake Gyllenhaal doing? I mean,
He was going for it, man.
He
Oh my
went for
God.
it, and it was an epic fail. I mean, there were times I laughed because, okay, when you first meet him, he climbs up this hill to meet Oakjaw in the middle of the jungle here.
Right, and he's like a Bill Nye the Science Guy meets like the crocodile hunter type character.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
when he comes up there and he's out of breath, I was laughing along. But some of the things as they went on, especially later on in the movie, when he gets even more eccentric and over the top, it's like, I just don't think Gyllenhaal has the chops to pull it off like a Tilda Swinton, perhaps.
I would say that I don't think it was his fault. I think it was the director that really pushed them. I feel like there was this anime, Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, but this anime style of humor of the over the top, and also the dialogue was pretty terrible. I'm sorry. Let me just say to the jawheads who are listening to this and being like, "What movie did you guys watch?" I apologize.
Oh, you didn't like it,
for
huh?
this being the movie of the month because I think we would.
Wow.
Like to use Matt's description of Dunkirk, I think this was boring.
Oh,
That's like
So you didn't laugh at all.
But okay, so specifically, and I'm glad you brought this up. These characters, I genuinely think that was straight up just the director wanting the style of over the top anime Americans, and some of the dialogue. Again, it was just like very telegraphed of what these characters were trying to say. And so, I mean, one of the scenes when you see Tilda Swinton and Jake Gyllenhaal together, and then finally the two comic book the cartoon characters of the film are these powerhouse actors are in the same room together, and there's no way that they like, and then also Gus Fringe, I think from Breaking Bad, that guy, he's in the same room, and you could tell his lines, he's pained to deliver them, and these powerhouse actors
couldn't disagree
all
with you
just-
more.
Just going along with this movie because the guy directed Snowpiercer, right?
that is so funny. We'll get to that when we do our questions.
And you saw The Host. Have you guys both seen The Host?
I have
Yeah.
not seen The Host.
And
I
The
did.
Host is actually filled with these type of characters where it's a little bit over the top, eccentric characters. Inside, obviously, what and in that movie is a monster movie. Not that Oakjaw, in some way, is a monster movie
Esque.
esque, right?
Sure.
But I do agree with Elias that's what he's going for. Clearly,
Yeah.
I mean, the director's
Yeah.
asking them to be, on number 10 the whole time.
The one thing I liked about Gyllenhaal is when he gets to the top of the mountain and you hear his voice and he's got this squeaky, annoying voice, and then the camera turns on and all of a sudden he's got the all-American presenter voice. That worked. I like that joke. But I agree. He went too far.
The effects on Oakjaw, you guys all agree, looked pretty cool, or did you guys have any problems with Oakjaw the way it looked on screen? I see.
You're looking at me.
I see
Yeah,
Elias
Elias
a
is
little
smirking.
hesitant.
I do.
Yeah.
I think like a lot of the scenes look pretty good. Some of it, I do render special effects for my day job too. So I saw a couple of scenes where, like, when he was laying on his belly, you could see it kind of stretch and pixelate on his chest. So but that's nitpicking.
Yeah, I think when Oakjaw had his big movements,
Her.
Yeah.
sorry, her. When she, for instance, there's a moment early on in the film where Mija is falling down and grabs that rope, and
Yeah.
Oakjaw then holds on, try to save her. I don't know, like, I give him credit for going for it, but it was those moments where I'm like, this doesn't look that real, does it? I don't know. That's the only time when I had problems with it.
Worked for me.
Yeah, I didn't have any major issues, but I don't have the eye for those things necessarily. But one thing that really sold me, and it's a moment that stands out for me in the film, it's early on, and Oakjaw is sleeping on her back, and Mija is sleeping on Oakjaw's belly. And as the super pig rolls one way, Mija rolls the other way, and they maintain that balance. And it's this like beautiful moment of marrying something that clearly is illustrated and something that is real, and it worked really well for me in that moment.
I just like the term super pig.
Super pig.
Super Pig.
I love that. Also, clearly a message here about.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
It's not very subtle.
Oh, not at
no,
all.
not at all. I mean, it's right in your face. Obviously, the whole idea of eating meat and really that just how we deal with slaughterhouses and animals that are going into slaughter. You like that? Problem with that? What'd you think, Matt?
Well, I mean, like I said in my review, how it runs the different gamut of emotions, and harrowing is one of them. So you get to this scene near the end. I don't think we're spoiling anything. I mean, it's about meat right from the get-go. And it's almost like, I mean, seriously, it's almost like a Holocaust scene. And you hear the bolt gun in the background, and you know what's happening every time you hear that sound. And it's freaking devastating. So, yeah, it had some serious weight. I don't know if the message is the best thing about this movie, because it maybe, if you'll forgive the pun, no pun intended, it's a little ham-fisted. So, no pun intended.
He's been sitting on that one this whole show.
No, I swear to God, no pun intended. But it really is. I mean, that's definitely not, Morrissey's not putting this movie on his website anytime soon. It's okay for that message to be there, but I don't think that's what made the movie special.
Would it change your mind? I don't know, John, for instance, by chance, are you a vegetarian or vegan by chance?
I am not.
Okay.
No.
Would it change your mind in any way?
No. So we'll go into a long story that I'm sure you can edit out later. I've been eating less meat, so I'm sort of like trying to figure that out. So it was interesting to watch it through that lens. But I think for me, the same thing I sort of got from Snowpiercer is taking the idea of governance and capitalism or whatever it is to this absurd extreme. So in Snowpiercer, you get, authoritarianism, and you get this just like crazy Tilda Swinton, unlike, crazy Tilda Swinton in Okja. But for me, it was sort of, it made me think, I guess, more about society and our reaction to, or our willingness to look beyond things than it did necessarily about the cruelty of factory farming, which is a legit fact. But I think for me, the effect the film had was more about the Tilda Swinton world of the crazy marketing and the lies and deceit that she was doing to sell these super pigs. And
it's not completely black and white either, because the so-called heroes of the film, this ALF, Animal Liberation Front, which is Paul Dano's troop, they're not really the good guys per se.
Right.
They're questionable, and their methods certainly are questionable. Plus, I think if you look at what the corporation, through their horrible and potentially illegal ways, they were trying to feed millions of people was the goal. So, I mean, I think that they present a lot of things and let people draw their own conclusions.
Yeah, and I think Paul Dano
Somewhat.
was my favorite character in the movie, though. He plays it like he's this righteous guy, but you're right. The whole time, you really don't believe his motivations all the time either. So, and I think you're supposed to second guess him. I like that. I like that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, they write that in. I
Yep.
mean, when they talk about their plan and they sort of reveal to her what their plan was. I mean,
Yeah.
their motives are not entirely what they seem.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Now, it's funny. I'm the only one that can see Phil in my line of view, and Phil's like nodding this way. He's agreeing on some things. Phil, you saw Okja. You got a minute here. What did you think?
I will say, I do see where Elias is coming from. Just because maybe 5 minutes in, there's, and again, it's, we all saw this because it's the jaw pick of the month. There's, right from that poop scene, the very first one, I knew, and maybe I can't say this because I'm Japanese, but I'm going to use that excuse anyways. I saw that, oh, yeah, this is a really Asian film. And it kind of, it was throughout the whole movie. And so I can understand certainly that it's not for everybody. But yeah, overall, I liked it. And I agree completely with what you and Matt were saying too, Rye, that they make the ALF guys look really out there and oddball too. And so it's almost like, what side of the fence am I really supposed to feel like I want to be on here? And they do make a good job of, or they do a good job of making you feel like there's not an answer necessarily. And I think, to me, what am I supposed to make out of it? And I think that was something that I haven't seen in a movie before, really.
Yeah. Besides the poop from a super pig. But another moment that I laughed on was they were chasing, and I think they had Oakjaw in the truck. And
Oh, are we going to the poop scene again?
but besides the poop scene, because
second
that what made me think. But it was when they actually throw like marbles out on the floor.
yeah.
Yeah, the
With all
classic.
these guys coming after them, and everybody starts slipping on the marbles. Like, oh, it's gonna be that kind of movie. All of a sudden, they got
Yeah.
marbles when
That was-
people are running after them.
That was one of my favorite bits about the ALF is their constant devotion to nonviolence, but also just being really explicit about why we're doing this is because it's nonviolent. This is it just every time they did it, I laughed.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
All right, guys. How about favorite scenes?
Matt, you could go first.
All right. My favorite scene, Elias, happens to be what I'm dubbing the damage control scene, where Tilda Swinton and Jake Gyllenhaal and Giancarlo Esposito are all in the same room together. I thought that was just tremendous acting from all of them. Okay, Gyllenhaal's the weak link there, but Swinton is like completely like flustered. Things have not been going right, and the way he plays this character, Giancarlo plays this character just like Gus from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Comes in and you can tell he's manipulating things behind the scenes. That was interesting for me, and it was a quiet moment, but I felt that was one of the most honest, realistic moments in the entire movie, and I loved it.
My favorite scene would be when this is at the end when Oakjaw actually
The poop scene?
No. When Oakjaw actually carries a baby super pig out of the slaughterhouse.
Spoiler alert.
It's okay. It's the Jaw movie
All
of the
right,
month
okay,
pick.
all right.
And I'm not giving away the exact ending, but you know this image, and it, like you had mentioned, it is like a concentration camp in there. And I was shocked that I was going to be touched in any way, and that one moment got me. I thought that was beautiful.
For me, I think it's the whole sort of sequence from the very first introduction of the ALF through the melee in the subway.
Yeah.
And it just that was for me when I sort of got the hint that this is the way this movie was going to go, because you start with Tilda Swinton and then you go to Korea and you have the very pastoral like growing up, and then like introducing the ALF, and through all of the sort of like the Lotzie slapstick antics of that, I fell in love.
And
with
I was a
that
big
little
fan of
part.
that opening also. You had Tilda Swinton in braces. And then after she explains this whole thing of the super pigs, they're like, so when will it be ready? In 10 years.
Yeah.
Love that. How about you, Elias?
My favorite scene is when Mija finally gets to the big city trying to find Oakjaw, and she's in this office building, and there's like, she's trying to open the door.
Oh, yeah.
There's
It's
this
all
huge
glass,
pane of
yeah.
glass, and she gets ready to throw herself at it. And I love that because you knew it wasn't going to end up well for her. And this,
But then it still has a surprise.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I
part
say
was
that
good.
facetiously. How about trouble with any scenes?
I'll go first on this one, and it would be Jake Gyllenhaal. There were a couple of moments that I just didn't buy. And when he was going to take the sample of Oakjaw, or is that what he's doing with that?
Yeah, taking
that,
a meat
yeah.
sample.
the
Yeah.
meat sample. That whole part, I don't know. I at that point, I was like, come on, I hated Gyllenhaal. I think as the movie went on, I just started liking him less and less. So by the time we got to that point, I was like, I was done with him.
Interesting. What's interesting, John? This is good. My trouble with scene was the establishing of the ALF.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why. Because maybe the first part of the movie was so homegrown and like feel goody, that left turn, that was the most jarring part of the movie for me. Like I mentioned how they struck the chord mostly, but there were some waivers. That was like, this just totally switched genres all of a sudden. It's oddball slapstick. And I did enjoy the melee. Like that was
Yeah.
fun, and the chase was a cool action piece. But like their characters, I wasn't sold. Later on, I liked them a lot more. But that establishing scene, they were too cornball.
Yeah, and they certainly were cornball. I love that personally, but I think for me, like taking Mija and Oakjaw out of the country and
Yeah.
putting them into Seoul, like something big had to happen, and that worked for me. A scene that I had trouble with was toward the end and the handoff between Tilda Swinton and Tilda Swinton in terms of control of this company.
Yeah.
Between
That was rough.
I guess their names are Lucy and Nancy, and I guess I didn't fully understand why that had to happen, why there had to be another Tilda Swinton, except for, you just want to put her in a different wig.
More Tilda.
Yeah, more prosthetics and more wigs. But the handoff there was confusing to me, and they did it so quickly that I didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
How about you, Elias?
Do we have time here? I'm gonna rifle off a couple here. So right from the get-go, when they have this big presentation, and this is even in the trailer, I think, when Tilda Swinton's doing her, I think she, like, right away, I was like, oh, she's gonna be doing an awesome, her thing, especially with what we saw in Snowpiercer. And then right at the end, she says, and it has to taste effing good. Like, so cheesy. It
was weird.
seriously made me think that this was a high school screenwriter thinking they're going to be so hardcore and have this actress say effing good. Like, it was like, come on. So that's that. You guys could speak to that. What do you think on that?
I thought it worked.
I think it works for her because I think in that moment she is risen to a level of management that she's not comfortable with. I think she's out of her depth.
Got it. Okay, a couple more. Mija learning English from barely a plane ride, reading this book.
Well, she only learns a couple phrases. But
No, but she understands it from everybody towards the end.
That's true, yeah.
Completely,
She does
clearly
understand
understands
it.
it.
It's
And during
dramatically
this-
convenient that
And
way.
during this showdown, she knows how to say these phrases.
Yeah. Bit hard to.
Yeah,
hard to
she
believe.
also slept on the plane, so she
Right,
learned English
exactly.
and slept.
All right, and speaking of the showdown, and this is, I mean, spoiler, obviously this was the movie of the month club. The gold pig, I looked up how much bars of gold cost, and they're about $1,000. Bricks cost like $500,000, or you get $500,000 for it. That was definitely not the size of a brick that you could hold with like two hands spread apart. So that was ridiculous. That like,
so wait, so what are you saying? It wasn't worth much?
not as much
Not
to,
as much
to
as a
fly
super
a
pig.
super pig back, and her just the cost of flights alone.
How much
If
would it
that
cost
was solid gold,
to
dude?
ship a super
Dude,
pig
I
back?
googled it.
And who knows
I
what the
looked it
value
up.
of gold is?
It's like
in
$600.
in whatever future world we're in. With
No, this
super
was this
pigs.
year. Oh, that's a whole nother thing. This is actually
It's set in 2017.
Set in 2017.
That's
yeah.
true.
And my last. Oh,
Wait,
so
wait,
go ahead.
wait. I'm going to qualify you on this. I want to throw this in the jaw box. How much would you estimate that if that was solid gold, what do you think it weighed?
I just said I saw like so a bar of gold is about $2,000. I don't know how much that I estimate that weighed, but a brick, which is like two hands holding it, not close together, is $500,000. But either way, it's not like imagine shipping a super pig back logistically
Super
with
pigs,
this smaller.
they cost a lot.
They do, yeah. The
Yeah.
shipping.
Goddamn.
Yeah, shipping and
Well, you're in
the-
logistics,
yeah,
right?
you are, right?
Shipping's
You
where
know.
they get you.
All right.
And the last one is the parent pigs at the very end that spread the fence and have their baby pig go with
Oh, it's a
Okja.
wonderful moment.
Because these pigs are humans apparently all of a sudden, and they understand that Okja is going away. They don't know that Okja is going home.
Have a heart.
And
it,
then
was a, it was a nice moment.
well, they've shown some signs of
Intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah, but monogamy too. Our pigs, like, we need to throw that in the job box.
Hey,
I know.
plenty of animals are monogamous.
Yeah, penguins are. I honestly don't think pigs are.
I don't think pigs are
Humans
either.
aren't even
what
monogamous
about
by
super
nature.
pigs?
So that's a huge gripe. Like the look of like they were parents and just saying make sure the pig writes to us or something like that. It was just so like I can't believe you guys bought into this.
I was touched by it.
I liked it.
Yeah.
All right, how about influences here, Matt?
So his previous films, obviously, you can point to, but I would say if there's an influence, I think this guy is the closest thing we have to Terry Gilliam, other than Terry Gilliam. He's just a gonzo filmmaker who's treating odd topics with odd characters, odd visuals, and I can't wait to see more from him.
Yeah, I went a little bit more practical. Food Inc. documentary, looking at the slaughter of pigs. And then Mighty Joe Young for
Oh, yeah.
sort of like trying to protect like an animal
Gentle
from...
Giant.
Yeah. So how about...
This one's really specific and not applicable to the entire film, but once I saw it one place, it kept popping up for me, is I saw not a lot, but I saw several instances of sort of a Wes Anderson aesthetic, especially with the ALF, especially with Paul Dano.
Yeah.
And the way that he was sort of like, and the way that those scenes were sort of shot and composed, they were all just, for me, it felt like I could hear the little toy music in my head when we were watching the ALF.
the bellhop
you know what's funny
scene.
though,
Yeah,
John?
the bellhop scene, yes.
I had that same thought. I actually saw it and I thought, well, this is what it looks like when someone tries to do Wes Anderson and
Yep.
can't quite pull it off, because
Yep.
Wes Anderson's a master at it and he doesn't quite get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
How about you, Elias?
Actually, I don't have any specific ones, and since I took up a lot of time in the other one, I do have one for the next question.
Okay.
So how about you guys? What did you learn from this movie?
Matt,
Offbeat is good. I'm a fan of Offbeat.
John.
For me, it was so much about the young woman who played Mija and just how much one actor can do, especially when they're not saying or even doing a whole lot.
I learned that super pigs are much cuter than real pigs.
They are.
They are.
Yeah.
I learned that a high school filmmaker who's really into anime can watch one YouTube video from PETA about pigs getting slaughtered and make a movie about it.
Oh, man.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's coming in with a razor.
You really didn't like this movie.
Yeah, I
Wow.
didn't buy it.
How about movie poster
Well,
quotes?
I guess let me just really quick preface this. My angst on it. Like, I thought the actors were all amazing, and I really think they all deserved a better movie to be a part of. And I don't think it was Gyllenhaal's fault at all. I think it was the director.
Interesting. Movie poster quote, Matt?
There's a new babe in town.
Not bad. That's a good one, Matt.
All right,
Yeah.
thanks.
John?
Oh man, that's hard to beat. I don't know if I have one. I don't know. Come back to me. Come back to me.
I got, and this was, I had tweeted to Elias, this really did happen. My movie poster quote would be, don't grill sausages up before watching this movie. And that really did happen. I grilled up 2 Vienna Polish giant sausages. And then I ate, and I had sauerkraut on there, and I was so happy. And I was like, all right, now I'm going to watch Oakjaw. And then by the end of it, like, I was just sick to my stomach.
Oh, man.
I kept thinking about Oakjaw the whole night.
Had a taste.
All right. Let's assign some grades. We'll start with Elias because I don't know if he's going above 1 here.
What is the lowest possible?
I suppose you could give it 0.
You could
Has
give it 0.
anybody in the history of Jaw given anything 0?
I think I have, yeah. I've given
I'm sure
I've
he
given a
has.
couple of 0.
Is it like a 0.25, 0.50? Is that a thing, or is it just
you
1
could
or
give it
0?
a half if you want.
I'll give it a half Jaw.
Matt?
3.25.
Wow. John?
I don't know the scale. What's the scale?
1 through 4.
1 to
1
4.
through 4. I go 3.
I go 2.5. So we're in the middle there. I
I
like
really
it.
liked it. Maybe I'm being too generous.
Phil?
I would say 3, right
3?
around Matt and John's
Wow.
zone.
Okay. So 2.5 to 3, 3.25, and then you got a half a jaw from Elias. If you saw Oakjaw and you agreed, disagree, you got to agree with somebody in the room because we're on
Yeah,
all
at this
kinds of
point.
spectrums.
Yeah, we're
so-
all over the place.
Yeah, write us
That's a good
feedback
thing.
at cinemajaw.com. Next week, we'll have an announcement of another movie of the month pick, Matt.
This is fun.
It is. It's always a good time. All right. Brings us to our top 3 this week. This was not based on a Stephen King movie, but we went eye for an eye on The Dark Tower. And this was a very fun topic to come up with. We're going to start with John. Did you have trouble with this list?
I did. So I went and I looked at a list of Stephen King film adaptations, and there are way more than I thought. I have seen very few of them. But yeah, I had a hard time. Even with the ones that I've seen, I had a hard time coming up with 3.
Narrowing it down.
Yeah.
And me and Matt should mention, we talked beforehand, and me and Matt at least agreed not to put Shawshank Redemption on the list
It would be number 1.
because we talk about it all the time, and it is based on one of his short stories. Now, if John has it, that's different, but me and Matt talked about it, so people aren't shocked when it doesn't come on one of our top 3s. John, you're getting to start it this week. What do you got sitting at number 3?
Number 3, because I've gone back and forth on this, but I think I've landed on Stand By Me in number 3.
Great one.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that film, but it still sticks with me. I still remember it. I'll admit that I haven't read the story it's based on, but the film as on its own, I think stands up.
Oh, no doubt. It's funny that you say you don't think you read the story. I was actually trying to think if I've ever read a Stephen King period. And I think I've only read like a novella that I had gotten maybe a couple of years ago, like free on my Kindle or whatever. But I have never like went and bought a Stephen King book and read it. Just not my
Cup of
author I
tea?
go to. Yeah, I don't know.
I've read
Strange.
a handful, but not much more than that.
Yeah. Swings it over to my number 3. You want to finish up the list this week, Matt?
Sure.
Okay. My number 3 came out in 1982. It's a series of films, short films that make one movie. I'm speaking of Creepshow.
Wow.
Wow.
Ryan, my hat is off to you, sir.
You like this one?
Yes. Well done. George A. Romero.
Yes, who we just lost, directed this film. It's based on 2 Stephen King short stories, and I believe he wrote the other 3
He did.
directly for the film. And he even pops up in the movie, Stephen King.
He does that from time to time.
Yeah, and I believe this was his screen debut.
Can we just say he's the Stan Lee of horror?
I guess so.
Sure.
Okay.
And you know what? There's two that really stand out that I just want to touch on really quick in Creepshow. That
Please.
man, I saw this when I was really young, and I mean, this movie stayed with me. It really gave me the willies kind of movie. There is
Yeah.
one where there's this like rich salesman who gets
Bugs?
Yes, the bugs.
Yeah.
And his body.
I don't know if that's what it's
Yeah, it
called,
is.
but
Yeah, I think that it's called like.
maybe clean room or something.
Oh man, I thought I wrote it down, but I don't.
Throw it in
have
the jaw box.
Throw it in the jaw box. What's the name of the roach segment in Creepshow? But eventually the roaches kill this man, and they're coming out of his body. It's
Horrifying.
horrific. Yeah, if you've seen it, it's an image that sticks with you. And if you've seen it when you were a young kid, you just didn't sleep for a week. That's all there was to it. And the second one, and this image sticks with me a lot of times too, is there's a guy that I think he's getting back at his girlfriend, and he takes these two people and he buries them in sand, and he waits for the tide to come up. So he buries their whole body on the beach so that just their heads are above the sand. And at the time the tide is low, and he says, "You have until the tide is high to dig yourselves out of the sand." And slowly but surely the water is getting higher and higher. Oh my God.
That's a nightmare.
Oh, Jesus.
What about the
creeped hell
Hitcher?
out of me.
Do you remember the Hitcher?
The Hitcher's scary as hell too.
Such a good segment.
I
man.
believe the Hitcher starts the movie.
It
I think
may.
It's the first segment. Yeah. Creepshow. I want to see more of these, like 5 short films make up a series. I'd love to see it.
They
So,
made a Creepshow Part 2. Not as good, but that's okay.
what do you got sitting at 3?
At number 3, 2007, Frank Darabont directed The Mist. And you were mentioning how you're not a Stephen King reader. I've read a few.
Yeah.
I have not read The Mist, but my wife did, and we watched this movie together. And if you've seen the movie, I've talked about it a lot on the Jaw, so I don't want to belabor this, but the ending will leave you quite disturbed. And it's funny because it doesn't end like the book does whatsoever. And I think that they got the movie was a better ending than the book. It's twisted, it's damaging, but it's good. I don't know. I loved The Mist. It was such a good movie.
Yeah. I remember joking when we reviewed it on the show that the thing that ticked me off the most is no one calls it a fog.
Yeah, it's a mist.
Only a mist. I would never say a mist. I would say, oh my God, what the hell's going on in the fog over there? But
Yeah, nobody says mist.
no.
Yeah.
All right, we're into our 2s. John, what do you got there?
Yeah. Well, number 2, because I didn't know the rules in the agreement, but my number 2 is Shawshank. Dueling
That's
for number
interesting.
1.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to later. But I mean that, like you said, you've talked about it a lot. I'm sure there's not a lot to say, but that film is my number 2.
Yeah.
for
Does
sure.
that one play in the parks over the summer sometimes?
It does not.
Oh, it doesn't?
No, we have rated R restrictions.
I see.
Family friendly.
Gotcha. Nice pick at number 2. For me, I actually had Stand By Me, 1986. Rob Reiner directed, based on The Body by Stephen King. I'll sub one in here, Matt, because I don't think anybody's going to mention this one, and I haven't seen it in a very long time, but another one that probably my brother showed me. I was too young to see it. Stephen King's Children of the Corn.
So
Oh,
good. Why didn't
man.
we do top 5 on this, dude? You're a doofus.
I remember.
Room for honorable mentions.
Oh man, did this movie again scared me so much that I remember going on family vacation. You finally leave Chicago, and you don't got to go that far to hit the farmland and see fields of corn. I was terrified. As soon as I saw it,
Sure.
after watching that movie, I started crying in the back seat of the station wagon. Like, where are you taking me? No, I don't want to see these scarecrows.
He who walks behind the rows.
Oh man, did that movie give me the willies also? What do you got sitting at 2, Matt?
At number 2 actually is where I had Stand By Me. So, and I was going to sub it out with Creepshow, but since we've talked about that, honestly, I think this may be a better contender. 1976, Carrie.
Yeah.
It's okay. First of all, it's just a horror classic. I don't think it's been remade, and I liked the one with Chloe Grace Moretz and Julianne Moore because I really liked exploring the character of the mom. But come on, nothing touches the original. Love it. Can you touch that movie?
I've never seen it. I got to see this
Whoa,
movie. I know,
really?
I
But
know.
you've seen the remake.
No, I haven't seen the remake either.
Oh, dude.
So I'm in the dark on Carrie.
Get out of the dark.
This Halloween. This Halloween, right?
That's a perfect one. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, we're into our 1s. John, this is a shocker. You had Shawshank at number 2. I think there's only one Stephen King adaptation that could possibly beat it. What do you got sitting at number
Well,
1?
I hope I don't disappoint. At number 1, I have, and again, because I saw it when I was too young to see it, is The Shining, is what I have at number 1. That film, we tried to show it last October in the parks, and we got denied the rights. But that film, I mean, just The story, based on, of course, Stephen King, but then the filmmaking, the acting, just everything in that film is incredible. I love that film.
I mean, Stanley Kubrick
Still
adapting
scares me.
Stephen King is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt, did he steal your number one?
Oh, totally. Yes. I mean, it really, if your list doesn't end with Stanley Kubrick when you're talking about Stephen King adaptations, you're doing it wrong. But I mean, unless it's Shawshank, which would have been an acceptable answer, number one. So if I have to sub one out, man, I could go so many different directions. I actually have a little list in front of me here. I love every one of these, but if I'm being honest to myself, Total Recall was a big, important film in my fandom, the development of my film fandom. It's just a great sci-fi adventure movie. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger at his absolute peak, my opinion. The gadgets, the space travel, everything in this movie was so cool. It was just a great movie. I've probably seen it over a dozen times. Love Total Recall.
And my number one pick here, and then we'll do a couple more honorable mentions, but I think this is a worthy number one. Came out in 1990, shockingly also directed by Rob Reiner, who did Stand By Me. I'm speaking of James Caan, Kathy Bates, Misery. And this one still is unsettling to me. I think it's Kathy Bates' best, and we've talked about this on the show before, that she's so strong in this that I always see her as that character, and to some degree, no matter what Kathy Bates pops up on screen, I think she's sinister.
Annie Wilkes.
She's still Annie Wilkes in my mind,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
That's one that I like. I can watch The Shining. I can't watch Misery. I won't do it. I
can't watch The Mist. That was a one and done for me.
Yeah.
Couple more honorable mentions, Matt.
Christine.
Long time since I saw that film. The Green Mile with Tom Hanks.
Should be mentioned, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also The Running Man. I had no idea this was based on Stephen King.
In all honesty, that's where I was going. It's not Total Recall, it's The Running Man. I was going to correct myself.
Oh, okay. It was so funny because as you were going on about Total Recall, I was actually thinking, like, my God, he did The Running Man and Total Recall?
No,
you're thinking of Running Man this whole time.
I've read this short story, nothing like the film. Nothing like it whatsoever. There's no Richard Dawson in the short story.
I think they change a lot of Stephen King's adaptations from the sound of it.
Well, he got into a famous fight with Stanley Kubrick. Like, he did not appreciate the adaptation of The Shining whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, they were bitter rivals after that movie came out.
Wow. What about Pet Sematary?
Yeah,
Fans?
it's okay.
I remember it.
Yeah,
I like the
remember.
Ramones song better than the movie.
Yeah. Any others that I'm missing, Matt?
I think the original TV movie, you really got to point to that. I mean, it's still, we're about to get a remake this year. What about, I think those are the high points. Silver Bullet I like, but that's probably, we're getting into the B territory there.
Sure. Well, if we missed your favorite Stephen King adaptation and you have Twitter pulled up, shoot us a tweet at CinemaJaw. We'll retweet it and get the discussion going. What we're going to do is take a quick break, and when we come back, Matt is taking John on in City Movie Trivia, plus a Cinema War looking at Daniel Craig. We'll be right back on Cinema Jaw.
Hi, this is Matt Kay with a Cinema Jaw movie fact. After refusing to speak about his motivations for writing Misery for 2 decades, Stephen King finally came out and stated that it is indeed about his battle with substance abuse. Kathy Bates' character is a representation of his dependency on drugs and what it did to his body, making him feel alone and separated from everything while hobbling any attempts he made at escape. In his statement, he said he did not come out with it at the time because he was not ready and because he was afraid it would detract from the story. And that is your Cinema Jaw movie fact. Hey, Ryan.
Yeah, Matt.
You know what would be really, really cool?
Do tell.
If more Jawheads would leave us reviews on iTunes.
Yes, all those reviews really do help attract new listeners. I know we say that, but we really do mean it.
Yeah, and you can tell us how much you think Rye the Movie Guy is wrong about Seabiscuit.
You and that damn Seabiscuit. Come on.
You and
Matt
that
Kay.
damn Seabiscuit.
No, leave us a review on iTunes. We would really appreciate it. Thanks, Jawheads.
Thank you.
And we are back on Cinema Jaw, hanging out with John Ravenscroft from the Chicago Park Districts. He is in charge of doing movies in the park right here in the city. Putting you on the spot here, John.
Okay.
Favorite park to watch a movie in the city of Chicago?
Oh, I have lots of favorite parks, but you can't tell the other parks that. One of my favorites, I was just there last week, is River Park. It's in Albany Park at Foster and Francisco. It just reminds me a lot of the small hometown park I grew up with. But it's right on the river, lots of old trees and a beautiful field house and a pool. One of my favorite parks in the city.
Nice.
I don't even think I've heard of that park.
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
not.
it's
No.
beautiful. You should. You should go.
I was going to say, do they give you like a map of where all these parks are? Because
I was given a little booklet in my first week that we haven't printed in forever, but it sits in my car. But now everything's on my phone. I just look it up.
now I live near Wicker Park.
Okay.
How's Wicker Park rank? The
Wicker
actual
Park.
park. The
Wicker
actual
Park is a great park. It's beautiful. And the amount of stuff they managed to do there, and it's not a huge park.
No, it's
geographically,
tiny.
physically, it's tiny. But they managed to do a lot of programs there, and we do movies there. We do like 6 movies there every summer, and they theme their movie series every year on an actor. So this year is the summer of Nick Cage. So we are most of the way through the summer of Nick Cage.
I gotta
Thank
get
God
over
for
there.
that.
Do you know what day those play? over there?
They're Thursdays. I don't know exact days, but Thursday, maybe
Nice.
next week or the week after.
I got to get out there for a Nick Cage. It's right in my neighborhood. I might as well do it.
Yeah, I think next up is Gone in 60 Seconds.
Nice.
That's a good one.
Yeah, definitely. So for the Chicago Jawheads listening to this, again, if they want to get a schedule, know where the parks are, the best place to do so online is
Our website, chicagoparkdistrict.com.
do it, Jawheads.
Do it.
Yes. Matt, before we get to trivia, before we get to Cinema War, and I win again, we did throw a few items into the jaw box, and Elias is out of the jaw box, but he's right here. But heck, for Theater of the Mind, Matt, let's open up that jaw box.
What's your pleasure, Mr. Cotton?
The box.
How's it going, fellas? I do have to give a shout out to the elf in Oakjaw. Let's just say that, and because I didn't really give enough props, off the mics we were talking more. Jawheads, there is a post-credit scene that you might not have seen, and again, it stars the elf.
Yes, and this was a real post-credit, meaning at the very end of all the credits, not one of these cheap Marvel ones where, after the names Chris Hemsworth and so forth.
No, they wait till the very end of the credits.
But they also give you that cheap one right in the middle where it's usually,
Yeah, they're up to like 2 or 3 post-credit scenes now.
it's
They
just
keep adding.
It's a post-credit scene of a post-credit scene. And now there's credits to the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
You lost me.
You did. You
Yeah.
lost me. But it's good.
Let's dive right into these questions. A lot of Dark Tower stuff. So the first book came out in 1982.
Okay.
That sounds right.
And is the movie based on the 8th book? And it looks like it's based on the 7th book.
Okay.
And so the titling of the numbers of the book are kind of weird. So there's 9, it seems, but it starts off with a 0.5, and there's another book that's 0.45. So I don't know.
No
exactly
wonder
what
I didn't
that
get into
means.
all this.
Yeah.
I'm not reading any books that are a 0.4 and a 0.45.
Yeah, at least that's what I gather from their Wikipedia.
And the other thing I don't like is, remember when they made Narnia? And they started with the strongest book, which was
The Lion, the Witch, and
yeah.
the Wardrobe.
yeah. But that's like the 3rd book in
No,
the
it's not.
series.
No, it's
Second
not.
book.
No, it's the first book, right?
It is the first book?
Yes.
It is not the first book.
It's the first book published, but it is not the first chronologically.
Right.
in the story.
That's what at least I'm trying to say. And if you buy a series now, it's not listed as the first.
Oh, you know what? It looks like, Rye, that's probably what happened here because, so there's 7 official books, and the 7th is called Dark Tower 7, The Dark Tower, and that won a British Fantasy Award, and the rest didn't, so I assume that's why.
So they want maybe the
Yeah.
strongest
Yeah.
of them all. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So in Creepshow, what was the Roach segment? It was They're Creeping Up on You.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah. I got to rewatch Creepshow, man. It's been a long time.
If you guys haven't seen it, Jawheads, it's just a very fun watch around Halloween time. And they're fun. They're all about 20 minutes long. You know what I mean? Maybe
Yeah.
roughly about that.
It's like a short film montage
it's awesome.
or
It really is.
anthology.
It is.
Yeah.
A lot of fun, Creepshow.
That's all?
That was it?
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
Get back in that jaw box.
Will do.
Matt, it brings us to a segment called
Cinema War.
Cinema War. It works like this. Me and Matt, we're fighting on a topic. Our guest, John, gets to play judge and jury and tell the listeners who he thinks won the Cinema War. And it's important because we're fighting for jaw time to rant and rave on whatever we want. Daniel Craig is back as James Bond. Elias, tell the Jawheads at home what today's Cinema War topic is.
Today's Cinema War topic, a new Bond movie is slated for 2019. Should Daniel Craig hang up his martinis, or is he still shaken, not stirred, and the perfect for the role? Rye, you'll be fighting he's perfect for the role and should keep going. Matt, you'll be fighting he should hang it up and we can get a new Bond. Let this war, Cinema War, begin.
Matt, the James Bond series was in need of a serious shot in the arm back in 2006, and that was just what they got when Daniel Craig came on board to play 007. He was the right Bond for the modern time. When you have a good thing going, stay with it.
I think Daniel Craig needs a shot in the arm these days. Ryan, unless Daniel Craig is going for Roger Moore's record here, he better get out of the Bond game soon. The guy's going to be 50 years old this year. Q's going to have to put secret gadgets and spring-loaded knives and grappling hooks into his walker pretty soon.
50's the new 40, buddy. Roger Moore played Bond 7 times. Hell, Pierce Brosnan, that craphead, played James Bond 4 times, the same number as Daniel Craig. You have to at least let Daniel Craig play Bond more times than damn Pierce Brosnan.
Listen, at this point, it's a paycheck. I mean, frankly, I'm sick of hearing the guy complain about how much he hates playing Bond. If you hate it so much, quit. Obviously, after Casino Royale and the amazing Skyfall, he's not got anything left to say with this character, so do us all a favor, Craigers, and quit.
No, I like that you brought up those 2 movies, Casino Royale, Skyfall, because if for no other reason, you have to follow the formula of every other Daniel Craig Bond is spectacular. Casino Royale, awesome. Quantum of Solace, not so much. Skyfall, awesome. Spectre, decent. Survey says the next Bond will be great.
Look, I'm a Bond fan. I've seen all the movies at least once and most of them multiple times, and I will admit that I'm a Roger Moore guy, but I would also like to see something new done with the character. How about the first black James Bond, or dare I say it, the first female James Bond? It could be done, and I think it should be done. Daniel Craig has had his time, and now it's time to move on.
Matt Kay, we actually famously went on a Cinema War on who was the best Bond of all time, Sean Connery or Daniel Craig.
Somehow I lost that
And
one.
I won with Daniel Craig. Now, even if you don't agree on that he is the best Bond, Daniel Craig, without question, I think most people would say he's number 2, if not number 1. So why push him out the door so fast? The series does not need a rebooting just yet. This isn't Spider-Man we're talking about.
Hang up the martini and put the Aston Martin into storage. Daniel Craig's time as James Bond is long past its welcome. Like I mentioned, he continues to complain about the role, and he doesn't seem all that into it either. I think Daniel Craig would be better served moving on to some more mature roles.
We are button heads here, as we do each and every week. We throw it to our guest, our jury. John, what did you think of this Cinema War?
Well, I gotta go with Matt on this.
What?
Yes!
I gotta go with Matt. I do.
and I
And listen,
like John.
for me, it's not
Ring
about
the
Daniel.
bell.
It's not about Daniel Craig's age. It's not about Daniel Craig's age. I think a 50-year-old man can play Bond, sure. What I really agree with Matt on is that the franchise, the way the franchise stays fresh and exciting, it's what it's built on. Is changing people, is putting a new person in the role and seeing what they do. I feel like after 4 films, we've sort of seen Daniel Craig do all of the James Bond things. I want to see someone else do the James Bond things. So I got to go with Matt.
Wow, son of a gun. I mean, Matt, you say a lot of asinine things a lot of times. And
Thank
at
you.
one point, you actually said that, I'm going to start to rewatch all the Bond films, 1 through...
I did.
How far'd you get?
Well, so I've
1.5?
I think I got to the 3rd one. I think I definitely saw the first 2. With the second one's Dr. No, right?
I don't know my
I
Bonds. I,
think-
am definitely not a Bond
that was the first
expert
one.
by
It
any
might be
means.
the first one. I see it. So I saw the first 3, and then, but it was like I was going to do this on Facebook every day, and
Where's Goldfinger come in?
I think that's the 3rd one.
Okay.
Do you want
It might
an
be-
instant
third
jaw
sounds
box
right.
here?
Yeah.
Instant jaw boxing.
Yes, that is the 3rd one, Goldfinger. The second one's From Russia with Love.
Right.
Ah,
So
okay. And Dr. No
Dr.
number
No.
1.
Dr. No's
Yeah.
the first, and then that's where I left off. So I'll pick it up with the 4th one.
Well, you won this Cinema War somehow. I don't know how. I'm looking at you, John. I don't know how,
I sense that.
but that earns you some jaw time to rant and rave on whatever you want.
Okay, all right. So we are lucky, as we've been talking here, to live in a great city with a lot of great movie theaters. And one of those great theaters is the Icon Showplace. Love it. Love it. We get to go to many press screenings there. I'm a fan. Their chairs are very comfortable. They have reclining, like automatic little remote controls in the armrest now. Fantastic. But what they have up in the VIP section is this sneeze guard, for lack of a better term. It's this glass barrier that goes across each balcony. And I mean, it's only about, what would you say, about 8 inches tall, maybe? It's not going to protect anyone from falling, so it's really kind of superfluous. And what it does is when you're sitting in the chair, even if you're not leaned back, you really have to like sit up straight, like stick up your butt in order to see over the sneeze guard. Otherwise, it cuts into the screen. It's annoying. It's unnecessary. Guys, get rid of that stupid piece of glass.
I love that you call it a sneeze guard. I've never heard that before in my life.
That's what those
Is that
things
a
are called.
term?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've heard that.
That's it?
I've heard that.
Is that what that's
Like
called?
when you go to Chipotle and you're walking down the line,
That's a sneeze guard?
That's a sneeze guard.
Well, what's funny too is you mentioned if you're not sitting up, too tall, you're gonna see it. You're a much taller guy than I am, so I mean, I'm like,
You got to bring a telephone
no,
book.
I'm sitting Indian style for Dunkirk. I was sitting Indian style just to get that little extra height because for a lack of a better term, sneeze guard kept just getting the bottom of the screen.
It's so
and
annoying.
It's very annoying.
Yeah, right. I think we actually talked about this in an episode a while ago when Ryan and I went and we took some like press photos for our Chicago Now blog. And I would assume that it's some sort of like legal, because it's a short ledge, and if somebody falls over, because it's a quote unquote
I mean,
VIP section.
This piece of glass is not protecting anyone from falling.
But I
let's be
bet-
honest. Maybe
but
they do have to
imagine
have it.
It's a higher ledge because they legally need to have it.
Right, there's
than
probably
you'd
a
rather have
regulatory
a
height.
sneeze
I'm
guard,
sure.
Yeah.
I'm
Some
sure
sort
there
of
is a
code
reason.
thing.
Yeah.
I guess.
When you got people like Rye showing up to movies all boozed up.
And
That's
they serve
true.
booze there.
Yeah, they do.
You always see a Richard Roper there with a martini in his
Hey,
hand.
there you go.
Good stuff. Oh man. Hey, we love the Icon though.
Yes,
not
I want to
kid
be clear.
ourselves.
I do love the Icon, and this is only going to be an issue for you if you're sitting up in the VIP section, which is
Front row.
I do recommend that section. But man, please get rid of that sneeze guard.
And they charge more for that section. And then you got a sneeze guard in front of
Yeah.
you.
Just bring a booster seat,
Good
I
stuff.
honestly, I
prepared.
don't know if it's a code thing. If it is, I guess there's nothing they can do. But I think it might just be like a design flaw that they could correct. And I implore them to do so.
All right.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Matt.
Thank you.
All right. Brings us to trivia. And as I mentioned, there's a new movie coming out. Catherine Bigelow is directing it. It is entitled Detroit. Hopefully we'll get a review somewhere down the line because I think there's going to be some Oscar buzz about this movie. So in honor of Detroit, we are playing city movie trivia. Think of cities anywhere. Doesn't have to be U.S. cities.
Sure.
Cities.
Dubai.
Yes. In a movie
Paris.
title.
Okay.
All right. That's your clue.
Okay.
John, you're our guest. You get to choose if you want to go first or let Matt go first. Now, there are steals if the person doesn't know it. If you get hung up on any questions, Elias has clues. You get one trip to the ER for Elias Rodriguez.
Great. I'll go second.
All right.
Oh,
He
defers. Yeah.
Wow. Question 1 over to Matt K. Matt, name the actress who played Roxy Hart, the blonde lead in 2002's Chicago.
Was that the first question?
should have
supposed
gone
to-
first.
Renee Zellweger.
1-0, Matt K. Question 2 over to John. John, Eddie Murphy played Axel Foley in this 1984 action comedy.
Oh God, I don't know.
Wait, think
Wow.
about it.
How do I not
Turn
know?
of events here.
Ah,
Name of a city. Eddie Murphy played Axel Foley, a detective,
terrible trivia.
in this 1984 action comedy.
It is right there. It's right inside my brain. Sure, I'll use my clue right away. Why not?
Wow! Trip to the ER in question number 2. Has this ever been done before? Jaw history. Elias Rodriguez, what was the name of that 1984 Eddie Murphy movie?
Your clue is California.
Oh, see, I already knew that. There's no. I cannot think of it.
Let me give him a better
Yeah.
clue.
What do you got?
I don't know
Sorry,
why I
sorry.
can't think of it. That's-
Your clue is 90210.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So Beverly Hills Cop.
He is on the board. Good
God,
clue,
yeah.
Elias. Yes, I like it. 1-1, question 3 over to Matt K. But John does not have a lifeline anymore. All right.
True.
Matt, number 3. Owen Wilson has only appeared in one Woody Allen film. It came out in 2011. Name it.
Midnight in Paris.
2-1. Matt K. cruising along here. Question 4 over to John. In the movie Philadelphia, which actor played Miguel, Tom Hanks's boyfriend in the film?
Oh, I have absolutely no idea.
Oh.
I cannot remember.
And he does not
Yeah,
have a
no, I
lifeline.
got nothing.
You
I
see,
got
you see
nothing.
the dilemma John is in here.
Yeah, no, I knew. I knew this would come.
Wow, Matt, you got a chance for a steal and to blow this thing wide open. Who played Miguel, Tom Hanks's boyfriend, in the movie Philadelphia?
The collector himself from Guardians of the Galaxy, Antonio Banderas.
Listen to Matt get all cocky over there.
Oh,
The collector?
The collector, yeah.
Wow.
That's a Marvel thing.
3-1, Matt K. Question 5 is over to Matt. So, Matt, this could be a huge swing here. In the film Gangs of New York, Leonardo DiCaprio's character has the same name of a famous city. What was it?
I've seen the movie. I just, whenever Leonardo DiCaprio's in a movie, I just say, hey, there's Leonardo DiCaprio.
What was DiCaprio's name in Gangs of New York?
It's probably Boston.
That is incorrect. John, you got a chance for a steal here.
I will admit that I have never seen this movie all the way through. I've seen parts of it. So I'm going to take a wild guess and say London.
We were looking for Amsterdam. His name is Amsterdam in the movie.
Oh, New York. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. It is still 3-1, Matt K. Question 6 now jumps back over to John. John, Gerard Butler, Morgan Freeman, and Aaron Eckhart made this 2016 action film about the assassination of all the world leaders. Name it.
This one I know. It's London Has Fallen.
Wow. I didn't think anybody had saw that movie. All
I
right.
would have gotten that wrong. I did see, what's the first one they did? Because this is a sequel.
It
They
was
did
a sequel, yeah.
White House Down? No.
No,
have
that
no
was
idea.
that was made at the
Olympus
same
Has
time.
Fallen.
Olympus Has Fallen.
Wow. I didn't know there was a whole Fallen trilogy going
Actually,
on.
Olympus Has Fallen, not that bad. Very
Hey,
violent.
Back to the game here. It's 3-2. John has crawled back into this one. Question 7 over to Matt K. Matt, in 1965, Steve McQueen played a young poker player trying to prove himself against a longtime master of the game in this movie. Name it.
Wow.
Steve McQueen, poker player,
I mean,
1965.
right.
You do have a lifeline if you need it. You're up 3-2.
Yeah, I'll use my trip to the ER.
Unbelievable. Question 7, trip to the ER. Elias Rodriguez, what was the name of that 1965 Steve McQueen film?
Your clue is in Ohio City.
In Ohio City. Was
Does
it?
Matt even know Ohio? It's 2 over from us to the east.
I'm more disappointed that I don't know this because it's a poker movie. Is
And
it the
it's Steve
Cincinnati Kid?
Wow.
How about that?
You haven't seen it, huh, Matt?
No,
And you're a poker guy.
I am.
Matt ends up, he's
And
going
I
to
love Steve McQueen.
He's
Who
going to win
doesn't?
this one.
Yeah.
It's 4-2, and this is the
Yeah.
last question of the game. It's over to John. Here you go,
I got
John.
2. I'm happy.
Yeah. John, name the 2011 film that was about U.S. Marines being the last line of defense against a global invasion. It starred Aaron Eckhart again, Michelle Rodriguez, and Neo.
Oh, God.
Am I saying the rapper's name right? It's N-E-Y-O. Neo.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Can you give me that it was the U.S. Marines,
Yeah.
the last line of defense against a global invasion?
Yes.
Global, not national.
It's like
no,
global.
some type of alien
A
coming
global invasion.
in. Aaron Eckhart, Michelle Rodriguez, and Neo. And it had a name of the city in there.
Name of a city. Battle Los Angeles.
Wow.
No, that's, yes. You know your
I have
schlock.
not seen that movie, but it just sounded right. Battle Los Angeles.
All right. I like it. Hey, close game at the end there, 4-3. So you got 3, right? Can we get a handshake
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Well done,
Well
sir.
done.
Thank you.
If this one came down to a tie, we call it a jawbreaker. This question would have been over to Matt K.
Okay.
Matt, which film is worse, Beverly Hills Cop 3 or Beverly Hills Ninja?
That's a trick question. The answer is Seabiscuit.
That is incorrect, Matt K.
Beverly Ninja. Beverly Hills Ninja.
Even though, did you see Beverly Hills Cop 3? Not good.
It's not that good.
The real jawbreaker was this: Age of Antonio Banderas, closest to. John, you got a guess?
Oh God. Been a while since I've seen him. I'm going to say 57.
Lock him in at 57. Matt, you got a guess?
That's probably a really good. Okay, so Sicario, right?
Oh,
He's getting old.
yeah.
Man, I'll just do $1, Bob, and say he's 58.
Should have won $1 the other way, Matt. He's 56. Give that one to John.
Wow.
You guys were right on top of it, though.
Yeah, I mean that's
yeah.
a damn good guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's-
Yeah.
Good stuff. Brings us to the end of a great jaw.
indeed.
Always sad to see him come to an end, but they have to, Matt.
You know, we got things to do.
Yeah, we do. First and foremost, we got to thank our guest, John. Pleasure meeting you, and thanks for coming on Cinema Jaw.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This is great.
I can't wait to get out to a movie in the park.
Yeah, let me know when you're going to be there. I'll come.
Yes.
I'll stop by.
yeah.
Yes, I like it.
I'll be at the one in Loyola Park.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'll stop by. It's my local park.
Cool.
We also got to thank Jawbox Elias.
Thank you, Ryan.
Is that what I'm going with? Jawbox Elias?
Are you still the best in the biz?
Well,
I
that's
mean-
the thing. Yes, we were just talking when Ryan and I went to see Dunkirk. Is like, even though I'm not the engineer, it doesn't mean I'm not the best engineer in the biz.
Yeah.
Or best in the biz.
So how about I go like this? So we also got to thank the best in the biz, Jawbox Elias.
Yeah, we got to work on it.
yeah, we're still
Yeah.
ironing out the kinks. But thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
We also got to thank producer Phil back there behind the glass. Phil, thank you.
In the fish tank.
Hey, not a problem, guys. Happy to do it. Thank you for not calling me PP.
I was
Producer
I
Phil.
realized, yeah.
Okay.
We also got to thank all of our Patreons.
Yeah, hey, thanks to everybody who's on the Cinema Jaw Patreon page. And if you guys aren't and want to get involved, do it. We got the $7 club where you get a free T-shirt, which is an exclusive design by Elias Rodriguez.
Heck yeah.
Nope.
Oh, one quick thing. It's my birthday week, and I wanted to say cheers to another year with Cinema Jaw.
Cheers.
Always glad to be here.
Cheers. Until next week, I'm Ryan the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt Kay, and keep on jawing about the movies.